Welcome to TCS Yes. It's a Thursday afternoon, and here in Transylvania County, that means it's time for our weekly radio show from Transylvania County Schools to bring you the great news happening with students, educators, their families, and our community partners, all the folks who make up the family of Transylvania County Schools, the best thing going here in our community. We have two very special guests with us today, and we're going to feature some really nice conversations with them, as well as with their teacher from Rosman High School, Amy Schoenacher. I have here in the studio with me two members of the senior class at Rosman High School, class of 2018. Madison, Brinkley, thanks for coming in today to talk about senior projects and your art awards.
Thanks for having us.
Totally happy to have you here. And Korinne, congratulations, and thanks for taking some time after school to come in and talk with us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
You are so welcome. And I say after school, knowing that you guys are a little bit lucky that you haven't had a lot going on today. It's exam period. And so tell me what you guys have been doing this semester to kind of keep yourselves busy. If you don't have exams today, what are the things that keep you guys most busy as seniors this year? Korinne, go ahead.
As a senior this year, I haven't had a lot of free time because I've been involved, as Kevin said, in senior project. And I'm taking a lot of AP classes, so that's been keeping me very busy. And I also play basketball, so that's a majority of my free time currently in the winter, as it is a winter sport. But in my free time, I've also turned to art, and I'm in AP art right now. And so that's where I find the most enjoyment in my free time.
I'm so looking forward to talking about how all of this has fit together for you, because senior year and the senior project in particular is so much about kind of climbing that mountaintop and seeing what's over the edge, having done all this work together. Madison, what's it been like for you as a senior at Rosman?
Well, it's been busy with senior project, of course, and also with the AP classes I'm in. But I've really enjoyed this last year, getting to know my teachers better, having a last hurrah with my friends at school.
And you guys are really starting to look forward. I know we should probably talk a lot about these things in greater detail later, but I heard some banter as we were getting ready for the show. There's a lot of college planning going on right now. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, Madison, what are some of the prospects that you have on the table right now? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing back from colleges whether I've been accepted or not. I'm waiting to hear from Chapel Hill right now, but I've already heard from Appalachian Liberty. And I'm really excited for some of the upcoming events at school, like senior trip. Oh,
yes. And so lots of fundraisers and lots of activity and energy that goes into that. Korinne, what about you? What are your college prospects looking like right now?
My top three choices right now are UNC Chapel Hill, which I'm still waiting to hear from at the end of January, Tulane University in New Orleans, which I've heard and I've been accepted to, and Vanderbilt in Nashville, which I have yet to hear from.
So many good things. I mean, that's so wonderful. And I know by the time we get to graduation and when the counseling office is announcing all of the great things that have happened, acceptances and scholarships, it's always an amazing event on that Saturday morning when Rosman graduates. So congratulations on the good news you've heard. We've got our fingers crossed for you guys to keep hearing good things. Well, today's focus, our show for today is all about this kind of senior capstone moment, talking about senior projects, and we're especially happy to have Madison and Korinne here as two representatives of the Rosman High School art program, because they're among those who have received awards from the Scholastic Art Awards program. You're going to have a show coming up for the rest of the spring at the Asheville Art Museum. And we have some gold key winners with us today who are also competing for additional awards beyond this. So we took some time to talk with Amy Schoenacher, who kind of helps to tie all of this together as the art teacher and as the leader over these senior projects, and definitely a proud advisor and supporter for these Scholastic Art Awards. We wanted to hear from Mrs. Schoenacher to learn a little bit more about what it's been like for her students. So we're going to play a couple minutes of that interview now, and that'll help kick off the rest of our conversation with Madison Brinkley and Korinne Hawk.
We are talking with Amy Schoenacher, the art teacher at Rosman High School. And Mrs. Schoenacher, thanks for making time today to talk about some of your students and their senior projects, as well as their new Scholastic Art Awards.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're talking with Madison Brinkley and Korinne Hawk today. Obviously, their senior projects came to my attention through Sarah Justice, who coordinates this every year. What is it about the senior project process that you feel helps to open up these windows? I've looked at their portfolios. They did such wonderful things. They learn a lot. What is it about the process you feel that works well for your students?
Well, especially for the art students, they have that opportunity to seek out a professional, living, working artist that can help mentor them in a specialty area. And sometimes that's more difficult in the classroom setting. So I feel like for the art students, when they choose something like oil painting or batiking or something like that, then they have a real opportunity to learn those techniques that I can't always provide for them on a one-on-one basis.
That's a great opportunity. And then I know that you've got students who have moved on to lots of advanced areas as well, and we're going to talk with those students about their senior projects to get a little more detail, but also some of those works of art, or ones that you've worked on with them in classes, go on for really exceptional awards. And this year, the list you sent me was so extensive. So many students succeeded at these Scholastic Art Awards. What does it mean for you to see these students go to that higher level and compete and earn such prestigious awards?
Well, it means a lot to me, and I'm so very proud of them, and I think it speaks volumes for their talent here at Rosman High School, and I'm so glad that they have the opportunity to shine with some of those bigger schools in our area, in our region. So, this year in our region, the Asheville Art Museum hosts it, and there was 800 entries, I believe, and out of those, only 200 were accepted into the show, 250 maybe. And so those students, those 10 awards for those students are really exceptional.
Absolutely.
So,
and
especially the gold and the American Visions Award that Korinne received.
We love those Gold Key Awards and knowing that they get to go on and compete at higher levels, but also tell us about that American Visions Award. What's so special about that?
And so actually it's called the American Visions nomination, and it's kind of like getting the best of show for the Scholastic Art Show in our region. So 5 students receive a nomination, and then those students from our region will go on to compete in New York for that top award. So it's, like I said, kind of like having a best of show. So Korinne really shined in that area. And the judges, even when I dropped her work off, said, please tell her how exceptional her painting is. So.
What a great piece of feedback to get. And I know they're very, very excited. We're going to be talking with these 2 students and sharing some more information about all of your award winners through social media. It's on the Rosman High School Facebook page right now, and we'll get that information out to the newspaper shortly. Huge congratulations to you and your students for all the great work they've put in for senior projects and Scholastic Art Awards, and good luck during the competition later on this spring.
Oh, thank you so much. I can't wait.
If you could have seen the look on our students' faces as Madison and Korinne were hearing Mrs. Schoenacher talk about them, I think you'd appreciate how meaningful it is for teachers and for everyone around our students to be proud of them. So, Korinne, you recover from that for just a minute. What's it like to know that your painting was singled out for some really special feedback from the judges?
I was really shocked when I heard the news. I got an email early a few mornings ago, and I heard the news that I had gotten the Gold Key nomination. And then a few minutes later, Miss Schoenacher called my mom, and she talked to me. She told me that I got an American Vision nominee, and I wasn't sure exactly what that was. And she explained to me that it was basically best in show for the competition. They picked 5 of them, and I was truly honored because I knew my art was pretty good because of the feedback I'd received. But it was really great to have that kind of feedback, especially from professionals, and to just know that my art was actually good, and I felt validated.
I love it. And Ms. Schoenacher mentioned there were 10 different artworks. 4 different artists from Rosman High School and 3 from Brevard High School earned honorable mention or silver and gold keys. And so we happen to have Madison Brinkley here with us, who got a gold key in drawing for her Roman Street. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter feed, where we put up some images depicting the art that they won awards for. And you can check out Rosman High School's Facebook page for every piece that they entered in the contest and got awards back for, everything from honorable mention up to the gold keys. Madison, you entered 4 different works, and you must have been so busy, just so committed and devoted to getting something into the show. What was it like for you to know that that you were recognized on a different level for all of these, but especially for that pencil sketch?
Well, anytime I create an art piece, I get emotionally invested in it. And so whenever I finish, I think it's good, but sometimes you're not a good judge of your own work. Sometimes it's just really nice to have someone else tell you, that looks good, great job. And so it's really satisfying to have someone else appreciate your work.
So we're shouting out also for Abby Buchanan, who got 2 honorable mentions in mixed media and painting with a wax finish, and Casey O'Shields, who also got honorable mention for drawing and a painting with a spray paint weave. Really exciting, kind of complex artworks. And we're going to shout out as well for our 3 winners from Brevard High School. Julia Lusk and Hazel Freeman won honorable mentions in their categories, and Sadie Tinch got a silver key for watercolor painting. The 2 gold keys that you all won mean that you're looking at the possibility for going to Carnegie Hall in June, right? You're in kind of a really cool setting where, like Cameron Hoxett before you and other artists who have won gold keys, you're kind of in this pool. But even before you can get to Carnegie Hall, there's a great display, and we encourage everyone, if you're into student art and art generally, I promise you're going to look at these artworks on Facebook, and you're not going to be able to distinguish these from very mature works of art from people here in Transylvania County and really from anywhere. January 27th through March the 4th, all of these works from the Scholastic Art Awards will be on display at the Asheville Art Museum. And we're sure they're going to have a good time when regional winners are announced and honored at a special reception on February 25th at the Diana Wortham Theater in Asheville. So you get to celebrate your artwork a lot, and we definitely look forward to hearing, Korinne, whether you manage to climb to the top of those 5 American Visions nominees, and who knows, represent us again in New York. And we know that both of you are looking forward to possibly winning an invitation to Carnegie Hall. You got to do so many innovative things before turning in these projects, and that makes me think about your senior project in general. What was it about taking on a senior project, knowing you had to put 30 or more hours in, working with someone outside the school? Madison, let's talk with you, because you mentioned kind of that inner process that you go through when you're doing a work of art, and maybe you learned it at home. Maybe that investment in your artworks is something that came from being a part of a family that has an artistic heritage and tradition. Tell me about what it's like working with your dad, for starters, and then having to branch out and work with someone entirely new.
Well, since I was little, I've always remembered my father downstairs in our basement painting. He loves to paint, and he mostly paints Brevard. He paints the rivers and the fish because he loves the fish. He just loves nature, and sort of, I think his way of honoring nature sometimes whenever he paints is painting what he sees whenever he's alone fishing. And I've always seen how dedicated he is to work.
Sure.
And so I've always loved to create my own pieces and try to be as good as he is, which he'd say I already am.
There you go.
I'm not sure. And, but with the senior project, knowing I had to get 30 hours in, I wasn't sure if I could do that.
Oh, wow.
Because you never know how long it will actually take you to do a piece. Sometimes it takes you 10 hours, sometimes it takes you 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And
how did you pick the technique?
Daunting.
Yeah, what was it that led you to think of this new technique and learning how to paint with a palette knife?
I saw another artist on a trip, and I was in Thailand, and there was an artist there who was painting with a palette knife, creating these beautiful landscapes, and I just wanted to be able to paint like that.
That is so incredible. So what was it about that technique? What moved you when you saw that painting style and the finished products?
Whenever I create a piece, I usually try to make it really realistic, but this person, she'd created something that looked realistic, but it was broken apart by the strokes of the brush. It wasn't all smooth, and I wanted to be able to do that, and it was just so bright and colorful that I wanted to be able to add all those colors into my own paintings as well.
That is so exciting. And Korinne, let's talk about you. What inspired you to take on the animal themes that you talk about putting in 30 hours or more. We'll talk more in depth after our break coming up in a minute. But what was it about the animals that caught your attention?
Well, most of my family is artistic as well. Not my close family, but my grandmother actually was Maddie's mentor, and my aunt was my mentor for my senior project. And I grew up with them oil painting basically my entire life. We have many of their paintings throughout my house. And my aunt, who was my mentor, she just really loves to paint animals. And I've always looked at her animals and just the life in their eyes. And I'm just so connected whenever I look at them and the way she captures their essence. And I wanted to be a part of that because I love nature and I love painting nature. But there's something about painting animals where you get to connect with the animal and you feel like you know them on a deeper level. And I thought that was a really amazing thing. And I just wanted to try it out.
You are listening to TCS Yes. We're going to take a very short break and reset here. And when we come back in a couple minutes, we'll continue our conversation with Korinne Hawk and Madison Brinkley, two seniors from Rosman High School. We're talking about senior projects and their recent recognition in the Scholastic Art Awards. Don't go away. We'll be back after this. Thank you so much for staying with us. And if you're just tuning in, this is TCS Yes. My name is Kevin Smith. We bring you this show every week on WSQL. That's Q102 FM, 1240 AM here in Brevard, and WSQLradio.com. And we have in the studio with us two special guests. This kind of conversation is 100% why we do this show every week on the radio, and then post it to the podcast. We've been putting it on SoundCloud for the past year and a half, and we want you to check out YouTube, where we will post this as a video blog where you can hear everything that's been said, and you'll see captions there, and share this with friends and family. We're talking with Korinne Hawk and Madison Brinkley from Rosman High School. Thanks again for taking time to come in and share what's been happening with your projects. When we last, a couple minutes ago, we were talking about not just the inspiration, but the support system that was helping to make your projects possible. And Korinne, for folks who just tuned in, tell them again where your mentorship came from, and let's kind of draw that whole picture, because I'm amazed at how you and Madison intertwined in so many different ways with family and friends.
Yeah. So my mentor for my senior project was Jenny Buckner. She lives in Waynesville, and she is actually my aunt. And her mother, my grandmother, it was Maddie's mentor for her senior project.
So great. And then Madison, your dad, John Brinkley, who teaches art at Rosman Elementary School and is himself an accomplished artist, was also a mentor?
He was, yes. He mentored two of my friends, Aaron Cunningham and Dylan Owen.
And this didn't just shock me. You got some response from the judges when they started learning all of this as well, right?
Yes. During my presentation, they asked me how I found a mentor in Waynesville, because at first I didn't just say that she was my aunt. And then I further explained the whole situation and how she connected to Maddie's mentor, and they were all kind of shocked as to how interwoven all of our projects kind of were.
You heard Mrs. Schoenacher mentioning what it's like to kind of open doors beyond the limits of her classroom and her specialties. What was it like working with fellow artists further along the path after having worked with someone like Mrs. Schoenacher for, hours and hours and hours for the past few years? I mean, Korinne, you're an AP art, so you've really climbed as far as a student is going to go. You've put in a lot of time with her, and you had to put in 50 or more hours with your mentor to finish your project. What was it like getting this kind of training and support from someone outside the school?
It has been so unique working these 4 years with Ms. Schoenacher because of her breadth of knowledge of so many different art forms and getting to fully experiment in art. But it was a unique experience getting to focus in on a certain media, and specifically a certain focus of only doing animals and oil painting. It was really cool to work with Jenny, my out-of-school mentor, because she had been painting for over 20 years and she had never had any art classes at all. She just started painting. And so she was a great teacher because she could teach me, even though I'd never oil painted before, because she started from scratch and she knew the best way to teach somebody who had never learned before.
That's outstanding. Madison, what about you? As far as branching out and learning this brand new technique that you had seen in Thailand, please go back and listen to the first half of the show if you missed the beginning of Madison's description of her project. What was it like for you as you had to dig in and learn something entirely new, obviously incorporating things you'd learned, but in a whole new way?
Well, it was scary because I was using a knife to paint instead of a paintbrush. I'd never done that before. And so I had to think of it differently, like frosting a cake or spreading butter. And I had to find someone who's really good at it, which thankfully Korinne's grandmother was. Which you can find her artwork actually displayed at number 7 gallery for sale if you
I imagine that's true.
Like.
There's probably a lot of that. We should get into that, and maybe we'll share that when we write this up and put it on our YouTube channel. That there are lots of ways to see the art of our students and their teachers. So, learning how to butter the canvas or frost the canvas with a palette knife. Again, I've had the chance to look through and see all of your portfolios, and you had to write these long journals detailing the changes happening to you. What did you feel happening? What did you feel happening inside of you, mentally, emotionally, as you got deeper and deeper into the project, or maybe at the very beginning? It sounds like it was pretty daunting at the start.
At the start, yes, but very quickly I got into a rhythm, and I discovered that I liked painting with a knife better than painting with a paintbrush. And now I find all my other artwork is much more colorful, a lot looser than it was before, because that's how I would paint with a knife. And now I just prefer to use the knife.
So you've added a whole new tool to your toolkit, a whole new way of doing things and really looking at things. Korinne, you didn't just do one piece of art for your senior project. You dove in and did so many different things. How did you know it was time to move on from one piece and move on to the next?
It's really hard for me when I do an artwork because I look at it and Maddie feels the same way, and we never see it as finished. We always see as it could be better,
right.
And it could look more like the original picture. It could have more color, more shade. And so for me to finish off all of my artworks, I went and actually met with my out-of-school mentor. I completed 4 works ranging in size from small to very big, which my blue heron was very large. And she at one point would tell me, she'd be like, I think it's finished. It's done. And I was like, but I haven't finished, but I haven't done this part. And she's like, no, it's finished. And then I would take about 5 minutes and I'd step and I'd look back at it and I would realize, wow, it actually is done. It looks nice.
What a great process. I imagine that's probably one of the more important aspects of this. And it brings me back to talking about your Scholastic Art Awards. You had to pick the best of your best. And I see some overlap here, the things that you've been working on very recently and things that you submitted for the awards just this fall. So what was it like, Madison, going through the process and picking out different things that you had just worked on and maybe some that had been longer term projects that had finally come to fruition?
Well, I've never really felt like I'd finished whatever I'd made, just like Korinne. And a lot of times, the paintings or art pieces I thought were my best, other people told me were not as good as some of the other ones they may have liked better. And so I just put them all in, see what the judges would like, because everyone has a different preference. So you never know what's going to appeal to someone.
What was your, if you had to handicap and pick one that was going to be the gold key, did you think it was going to be your Roman street drawing?
No, I did not.
What do you think the judges saw in there? Did you get any feedback after the awards?
No, I have not gotten any feedback on that drawing. But maybe what appealed to them is that it was a photograph I took, and that it was just a picture of contemporary life with people at a cafe eating and enjoying themselves, and that I'd focused on the shadows in that alley that I drew and capturing the architecture of the area. Lots of clean lines and very supple throughout the work. Again, if you haven't had the chance to look at Rosman High School's Facebook page, and keep your eye on the Transylvania Times, where we'll publish these in the next several days, we're really proud of the award winners, and these are 2 Gold Key Awards from the Scholastic Art Awards here in Western North Carolina, sponsored by the Asheville Art Museum. We're talking with 2 of the students who are going to have their work shown at the Asheville Art Museum from January through March, and have a special reception in February to celebrate their artworks. Korinne, you put in several different pieces, and you mentioned it was your blue heron, but the ugly duck that you got a silver key for was one that seemed to take a lot of time during your senior project. It seemed like you kept coming back to it and really laboring over that. Tell us about the ugly duck or the blue heron. Pick one that you feel really helps to demonstrate the struggle that you've been going through.
Okay, so I kind of want to talk real quick about both of them.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to talk about the Ugly Duck for the fact that Maddie was talking about it's nice to have somebody else's perspective on your art, because my out-of-school mentor and my in-school mentor, even Ms. Schoenacher, said that when they first saw the photograph for Ugly Duck that they didn't think it would make a great painting because it is, in fact, an ugly duck. But it turned out being almost my favorite painting that I completed during my project, and nobody else really thought it was the best. But it turned out it won the silver key, and I felt very proud just because I thought it was one of my best, and they agreed with me.
I love that. So you've really had to learn a lot about stepping back. That's kind of a theme I've heard from both of you, whether it's submitting art for an award or knowing when you're done and ready to move on. Well, you're seniors, and this year is all about moving on. We talked a little bit at the top of the show about your prospects for college. Korinne, let's talk about that AP Art program and what that means for you. Do you feel like the senior project helped you to find something that you'll keep doing even further on? Again, you mentioned art is kind of a family inheritance and something that you've been doing with a lot of family and friend connections. How does art figure into the life you see for yourself after high school?
AP Art seemed very daunting at first. At the beginning of the year, I knew Maddie was involved in AP Art already, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to jump on and fully commit because you have to create a very extensive portfolio. But then it all kind of lined up when I decided the topic for my senior project, because I figured out I was pretty good at oil painting and I could use that in my portfolio. And I don't exactly want to go to college to pursue art as a career because it's commonly heard starving artist, and you can't quite well make a decent living there doing art. But I know I want to continue art as a hobby because it brings me so much joy and just calming. When I'm really stressed, I do art, and it just distracts me from everything else and just helps me focus on the things that really matter.
We certainly see a whole spectrum of ways to, having gone through music school myself and not a professional musician today, seeing that there are lots of ways to take your art or your music and make it a part of your life. Of course, here in Transylvania County, we're talking with one of the children of an art teacher here as well, and we've just been singing the praises of Amy Schoenacher. So lots of different ways for folks to be the not-so-starving artist here in Transylvania County. Madison, what about you? Do you feel like this opened up a window for you into what you're going to do in the future?
I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the future at all, but I would love to keep pursuing art. I'm with Korinne. I don't know if it's going to be my entire career, but I've thought about maybe working as an art conservationalist, maybe in a museum as a curator, or just as a hobby.
So many great things have come out of this, and we're really, really proud of what you've done with not only your senior project, getting yourselves ready for a maybe a more relaxed semester in the spring, because that brightens up the eyes. So you guys are really happy not to be doing this in the spring. Is that what I'm hearing? Oh yes, I'm so glad that senior project is over. And I think that was probably a popular choice, wasn't it? Many of the students in the senior class got English 12 out of the way. So what will you be concentrating on in the spring if you're not working on your senior project? We both have to keep working on our AP portfolios, so we're going to be doing much more artwork. Oh my gosh. So with all of these success stories already in your portfolio, what's next? Tell us about the next big piece you're working on, Madison. I need to work on my AP portfolio. And so I am planning on painting pictures of farm animals that a friend of ours took. And I'll be using palette knife to paint them. So I bet you will. That they're very colorful chickens and sheep. That's great. And Korinne, what about you? What's the next big piece going into your portfolio? I'm continuing to work on my portfolio, and my concentration, I think, is going to be birds, because at first it was just going to be animals, but I realized I've only completed bird paintings so far. So I think it's going to just be birds. And right now I'm working on a colorful duck and a turkey, a blue turkey. That is outstanding. We're going to close this part of our show. I've got a couple announcements that we want to share with everyone after this, and don't go away, you all. We'll talk again after this. But Madison Brinkley and Korinne Hawk, new Gold Key Award winners from the Scholastic Art Awards. We look forward to hearing great things, and hopefully we'll be reporting that one or both of you is heading off to Carnegie Hall in June. And congratulations on your senior projects. Thank you for sharing so much great information with us, Madison. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Korinne, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
We have a few announcements that we want to share with you here at the end of our program. For starters, we're celebrating 4 new teachers who have earned national board certification. We want to send congratulations out to Courtney Hagenow from Brevard Elementary School, Adria Hardy at Brevard High School, and Amanda Lewis and Christy Onco from Rosman Middle School. You might think that board certification is the kind of thing that goes with any profession, and that's absolutely true. But here in North Carolina, we have nearly 1/5 of all the board-certified teachers in the entire country, over 21,000 of them. And what that means is that we have more board-certified teachers in North Carolina than any other state. We are very, very excited that these teachers have decided to take a step forward and become leaders in their profession, putting in a lot of extra energy and time over the course of 1, 2, or even 3 years to earn this credential. There is an increase in pay, but much more than that. These teachers have decided to take a leadership role within the school system and in their profession. And again, we congratulate them. Please mark your calendars. Saturday, January 13th, that's 2 days from now, at 7 p.m., Brevard High School will be showing a special film called Sharecrop. Again, 7 p.m. on Saturday, the 13th of January. Please go to Brevard High School. The public is invited. It's free. Tickets are not required. Claudia Stack is the film director, and she will be present to answer questions. You may have seen her film earlier on the Kaintuck School called Under the Kudzu, which was shown at Bethel Baptist Church earlier in the fall. We're really grateful that Brevard High School is opening up the event, and local author John Snyder, whose recollections are featured in the Appalachia section of the film, is going to be on hand. Sharecrop, a first-person perspective from many, many voices around the South about what it was like to be part of the sharecropping lifestyle and culture. Very difficult, very challenging, and a huge part of our heritage. The Miss Bingle pageant is coming up at Rosman High School on Saturday, January the 20th at 6 p.m., and tickets are now on sale for $12 each. You can contact Rosman High School and ask for Tammy Hall. It's always an exciting event. We're sure the auditorium is going to be packed. And the last piece of information we want to share with you is please help the Rosman Tiger Band. They're on a shoe drive campaign. They have 60 days to collect 2,500 pair of shoes. That's a lot of shoes for a lot of great young musicians. They just kicked off that campaign this week. You can bring new or gently used shoes. They have to be clean. New or gently used shoes. Bring them to Rosman Middle or High School. You can bring them to the Education Center here on 225 Rosenwald Lane. You can also bring them to Pisgah Heritage or Total Auto in Brevard. If you have questions or even to arrange a pickup, you can call the school at 862-4284 and ask for Katerina Cantor. The band is collecting shoes, and we hope you're willing to help them out. You've been listening to TCS Yes. My name is Kevin Smith, and we are so proud to bring you the great things happening with our students, parents, educators, community partners, the folks who make up the family of Transylvania County Schools, the best thing going in Transylvania County. We're here every Thursday at 3:25 p.m. We look forward to being with you again next week, where we will talk with Molly Tart and Liz Fuller about an exciting book release coming out. And until then, thanks for being with us, and take care.